the 7 panelists. Etienne?
Thank you for joining us for today's listing. I believe it is one of the first worldwide, if not the only one ever, that stock exchange has listed a company during lockdown. So we're doing a virtual listing on ZAR X of Orion Real Estate Group. We would like to welcome onto the panel Orion Group CEO and founder Frans Gemeiner, Graham Wellstead, co-founder of ZAR X, also head of listings, Saki Zamkaka, who is the head of business development at ZAR X, Jeff Cook, also co-founder and head of markets at ZAR X, Michelle Krastenhoff from Arbor Capital, who are the appointed advisors, and Jim Brent, who is the ZAR X Chief Technology Officer. I think I would like to hand over at this stage to Jim for a couple of administrative processes, so we can just have some level of cohesion and orderliness during a Zoom webinar. So without further ado, Jim, if you just give us some administration updates, please.
Thanks, Etienne. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. As Etienne said, this is a first, probably for many of us. Welcome aboard. Just a few, we don't want to actually call them rules, but a few things to maintain decorum in the webinar. Mostly in terms of the attendees, you will notice at the bottom of the screen, there is a Q&A option in the menu, in the Zoom menu. Now that Q&A option is there for you to use to raise questions by typing them in at any time during the webinar. And those questions will either be answered by a typed reply by one of the panelists as we go along, or if they're not answered by the time we've got to the end of the listing, then we will open the floor to a general Q&A where those remaining questions will be answered. And we will also open the floor to actual taking verbal questions. So you will be able to actually ask, join in and ask a question verbally. Obviously, the quality of the whole webinar will fall short if everybody's asking at the same time. So we just ask you to maintain that decorum and use the hand raise, which you can do once we get to the end of the session and we open the floor. To use that little hand raise, and then we allow you to speak, and you can ask questions which will be answered live online. Apart from that, I don't think there's too much else to worry about. If you are talking, just a reminder to the panelists, if you're not talking, mute your mic so we don't hear the hardy-dars and the dogs barking in the street. And otherwise, welcome, and I'm going to hand back to Etienne. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jim. If you allow me, I'd like to quickly give you an introduction on how we got to today's momentous event. And I actually cannot sort of overemphasize how groundbreaking today is. To give you context, ZAR X was awarded a license to operate a stock exchange in 2016. And shortly thereafter, we were approached by at least 3 companies wanting to list REITs on ZAR X. Unfortunately, the REIT legislation stipulated that you could only be a REIT if you were listed on the JSE. So it basically implied that the REIT environment was hard-coded into the Act in favor of the JSE. 2 years later, and extensive engaging with Treasury and industry, we were able to offer REITs. And to that end, we started talking to Frans and Michelle and the team at Orion. And at that stage, they were listed on the JSE. So not only is Orion a REIT listing on ZAR X, and one of the first to do so, it is also one of the first companies to actually transfer their listing from the JSE across to ZAR X. And that is exactly what happens in an environment where you've got multiple stock exchanges and issuers could ultimately choose which exchange they would like to list on. It's akin to actually choosing one bank over another. And so today we are celebrating a big event, and we'd like to thank France and the executive team at Orion for the confidence and the support they've shown us. It's been a tough year to get here. We were talking about it the other day and did a backward calculation, and it took us a year to get through all the hoops and the processes. And that's usually what happens when you're the first one. So the ice has been broken. Frans, thank you to you and your team for the support you've shown us, the confidence, and we are delighted to have Orion on board, and we look forward to a very long and successful listing for your company. So if you don't mind, we'd love to hear some of your thoughts, Frans.
Etienne, thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm certainly very grateful and I'm humbled by today's experience. It is certainly for us a first to go through the hoops and to do all the preliminary and the preparatory work, even during lockdown. The last couple of days has been hectic and virtual meetings took place. My executives worked very hard. But before I continue about telling you about Orion, I'd like to first thank all the participants who have joined us, and of course the panelists. It's certainly humbling to have a virtual seminar, webinar, or a gathering of people to share a common interest. I'd like to thank also my wife, Antoinette, and my 3 children, Nadia, Ingrid, and Franz, standing with me as a family during some tough times, difficult times, through thick and thin. Certainly is a fantastic experience, and I love you guys. I also want to thank my dedicated Orion directors, executives, and staff. Again, they've been with us through some serious travails and being steadfast before the current crisis and now and in the future. Some of our people, I must add, have been with the company from inception. We have employees who've been with the company for 30 years and longer. So those are some long-standing employees and executives who've been with us. Of course, I have to mention Michelle Krastenhoff. Michelle, girl, thank you very much for being with us all this time. Our sponsor, you've been in meetings with me side by side, some pleasant meetings, some not so pleasant meetings, and we've stood the test of time together. I also have to mention the executives of Bidvest Bank, who in very uncertain times, when we were facing a financial tsunami with the credit crunch, they came through and refinanced a portion of our portfolio and allowing us to be here today. Then, of course, Etienne, the executives of ZAR X, of course yourself, Graham, Jeff, Jim, and also Saki, you guys stood with us. We're talking about conversations and meetings and processes that have taken a year to get us to where we are. So it wasn't a wake up in the morning and tomorrow we're doing these things. This has been a long process. The steadfast assistance and determination by both parties, yourselves and ourselves. And as you earlier said, this is the beginning of a long and I think a very good relationship. And of course, last but not least, we've had some shareholders from before my time when Orion was still Alpina and Gold Edge. Shareholders, long-standing shareholders who've been with us also through this time. I thank you all. And this is it. And anybody who I forgot who's been part of the team, who put in effort, they're obviously lawyers, attorneys, consultants, accountants. There's been an effort by many, many people to get us here. But I'd like to kick off also by giving a very quick rundown on this little company, Orion. It was founded just about 30 years ago, 29 years and a few months to be exact, with one building in downtown Johannesburg. Of course, the interesting thing is we know what Johannesburg CBD looks like today. It's not so pretty anymore, but back 30 years ago, already some of my knowledgeable friends told me at that time, Frans, you must be mad to buy a building in Yellow Street. Be it as it may, I didn't listen so good, and today we are here. And of course, in the early days, things were different. Those days, I produced my own rent roll on an Excel spreadsheet. I did my own meter reading, and a particular incident that comes to mind at that time, there was a burst water pipe. One night, the water pipe burst. Next morning, we arrived at the building, and the basement parking was the size of a few or two Olympic swimming pools, waist deep in water, which was a calamity to start with. But then the lift that was servicing from basement to the top 10th floor opened the doors and took in some water and dumped water on the 10th floor. So I quite quickly learned that a property investment and property management is not a piggy bank. It's not a remote control kind of effort. This is the real deal, is when the proverbial poo hits the fan and one has to deal with it. We've had 30 years experience in dealing with this. So Orion has had its growth over the years from one building. We grew in 2005. We went onto the JSE via a reverse listing of a little company, Alpina, with a small portfolio. We grew, we bought properties, we fixed properties, we sold properties. And of course, over the years, we also had to learn the can-do. So some of the textbook style of property management we had to dispense with. Typically, one would like to outsource everything and let other people take care of the necessities and the day-to-day activities in the property. Out of need, perhaps not out of smartness or strategy, out of need, we had to do many things ourselves. So today we're, albeit a small company, there's no illusion around that. We are very small and we need to grow. We do most things ourselves. We have our own security guys, we have our own cleaning guys, we do our own tenant installations, and of course, not to mention property administration and producing rent rolls and all those kind of things. So here we are. And as happens with companies, and I suppose with people in their lives, it's not a straight line. Life is almost like a graph. There are the ups, there are the downs. For those of you who are avid stock market investors, I'm sure you've seen your own graphs going all sorts of directions, particularly recently, where some companies were blue chip companies, without mentioning too many names because the list is getting longer, where they had blue chip status with a serious share prices attached to that. And now there are virtually penny stocks and nothing left over. So certainly a lot of executives locally and around the world are learning some very, very hard lessons, perhaps 1 in 100-year lessons. We've had some practice in some of those lessons. We know about tough times. We know how to withstand them. We know how to hold out. We know how to grow. So this, in the middle of these difficult times, and let's pay due respect to the difficulty. Many people will lose their jobs around South Africa and worldwide. Many businesses will fold locally and abroad. Many people's life savings will evaporate into smoke virtually, and tough times are with us. Now, the trick now is, without wanting to be prescriptive or telling people what to do next, is that in tough times, from our own past experience, sometimes the beautiful strategy document and even some mission statements are perhaps not so appropriate right now. Perhaps right now it is to say, okay, what do we do good? What do we do well? What are we skilled in? What can we do? How do we take our company forward, not even year by year, but virtually day by day, hour by hour, in the virtual world, sometimes even second by second and minute by minute. And that is certainly our strategy. We do understand that our size is small in terms of the portfolio size, but by any stretch of the imagination, locally and abroad, it is a small portfolio. We do also understand that we need to build the critical mass. We need to find the efficiencies in terms of spreading the costs. And to this end, again, ZAR X is for us a perfect platform. Taking shareholders on board and many more shareholders to come. And of course, our family holdings to be diluted to below 50%. We'd like to spread our shareholding. Is to put to, in the short to medium, we need to take the portfolio from a 600 odd million portfolio to a 2 billion portfolio. And yes, right now it's difficult. I'm sure there are not too many lenders out there, and I'm sure that people don't want to talk business that much. But even now in post-lockdown, opportunities will come about. There may be some funds who need to trim their portfolios. There may be private investors who may want to realign their investment strategies. So there are many avenues, many opportunities that will come to our company. And with the team of ZAR X, Etienne, I think I'm very grateful to work with you guys. Certainly the working relationship has been cordial and professional, and I certainly appreciate that. Michelle, you know, I've come a long way in terms of being our sponsor. Our own team, our chairman, Mr. Richard Wilkinson, he's been the chairman even since before Orion took over. So our board of directors has been long-standing. And as I mentioned earlier, some of our executives and staff have been there for a very long time. So the strategy is very simple. We continuously need to find efficiencies because we're all learning now what was good yesterday may be not so good today. What was the norm yesterday may not be the norm today. What was efficient yesterday may not be efficient today. I think today's webinar is a perfect example of how us as humans and the humanity actually can get together and have interaction and communications without being physically present in the same room. So in terms of the government's imposed social distancing, well, right now we are doing exactly that, but it does not stop us. So going forward, it is doing more of the same. At the same time, one of our previous Orion X co-chairman asked me at that time, Frans, what is your sell-by date on the properties? Now, initially when he asked me that question, I almost took it as an insult. I thought, well, a property is not an apple. I mean, you know, a property is a property, or a box of tomatoes. What are you talking about sell-by date? And it took me a long time, and I certainly gave it quite some thought. What is a sell-by date? The reality is, I learned that thing. Even a property does have a sell-by date. When exactly is the sell-by date? I still haven't found that formula, but there are certain telltale signs, i.e., if an area experiences some demographic shift, you certainly don't want to be the last person holding the candle or keeping on the lights. Alternatively, when there's a demographic shift in a certain direction, maybe it's a good time to be in there. Also, again, an important thing, which I think many property people are learning quite rapidly right now, what may be a preferred address, the premier street address, may not be that cool anymore because people will change. We recently reopened a supermarket in a colored township in the Cape called Delft. Now, for those of you who know the Cape townships, those places are rough, very rough indeed. And I've been there a number of times, and bizarrely, I feel quite comfortable and safe there. But Delft has a distinct, distinction of being the murder rate capital of South Africa, so which makes it probably the murder rate capital of the world. And we had this building that was being vandalized and became quite derelict. And in record time, we rebuilt this building and kitted this out for ShopRite. And today, this building in not a preferred address, certainly not a preferred suburb, is doing exceptionally well. So the investment strategies one needs to take cognizance of what's happening. And one can tell a story of pretty much each of our properties, whether they're doing good or whether they're not. Not all our properties are great. but some of them are very, very good. Do we need to sell some properties? Absolutely, we need to dispose of some of them. Do we need to buy others? Yes. Do we need to repurpose some? I'm very sure, particularly the office component is under pressure, will be under more pressure in time to come. So typical office conversion from office to student or residential, those kind of efforts one needs to do, and we're good at that. We don't want to compete with the successful large developers who have done that, who know what they're doing, and they're good at that. We don't want to compete with them. But what we are good at is taking a building that perhaps is at the end of life for another investor in terms of their sell-by date. And maybe their sell-by date becomes our opening date. So going forward, we will do more of that because we have almost 30 years experience in doing this. We have the support team doing that, the in-house skills. And what we want to do is absolutely, and I'm repeating myself here, build, expand the portfolio. Take on partners, yes. Doing joint ventures, yes. Sharing the company, absolutely. And with this, I'll say thank you very much to the participants and to the ZAR X team, the panelists, and we'll open the floor.
Frans, there's a question under Q&A from Trevor.
Oh, shucks. Hang on, ik help nog eens. Ik kan het nog begin druk. Back.
The question, the question here.
As
you know, we have known each other for many, many years. Well done on your listing on the ZAR X Exchange, but I would like to know is what are your plans going forward?
Hello, I lost you guys there for a minute.
I believe you've asked a question.
I'm going into the question.
Was hy? Oh, well, hy's geantwoord.
Okay. Etienne?
The question was from Trevor. He says he's known you for a long time. He congratulates you on the listing, and he would like to know what your plans are for growing the assets portfolio going forward.
Trevor, thank you very much for the question. And yes, you and I have known each other for a very, very long time. And for the benefit of the panelists and also the participants, you sold me one of my first buildings, a building called Mayer's Corner in Primrose, Germiston. For the price was, to be exact, I think 525,000 Rand. So if my memory as far as the prices are is still as sharp as ever. And thank you very much for that. You also were the key driver in disposing of Orion House and Braamfontein. So we've known each other for a very, very long time. And yes, Trevor, we need you to assist us in acquiring more properties. And we will be innovative in the deal making going forward. We were in the past and will be more innovative going forward.
Trevor says 100% correct. It's probably worth 6 million today.
Even a little bit more, actually. It's a little bit more. In fact, I think the book value of Mayer's Corner, which we still own today, is in our books at around 9 million Rand. It shows you how building, and we did make some additions and modifications at the time, can grow in value. Inflation is certainly the friend of property.
Guys, if there are no more questions at this stage, if you allow me to quickly run you through the ZAR X issuer web portal. So what I'm going to do now is just share my screen so everybody can see what it looks like. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Perfect. So this is the ZAR X main landing page. And what we do different to pretty much any other stock exchange out there is we provide live market data on our website free of charge. We, as a principle, believe that the market where we've got buyers and sellers have a right to see what the market looks like and have access to real-time pricing on the shares that they are invested in. So you don't need an app for this. You don't need any special ability to get into the site. It's just go to zarx.co.za and then you click on listed securities, and there you've got the portal, and it comes up with all the listed shares on ZAR X. So in this case, we're going to look at Orion Real Estate, and you can see that there's already a bid and offer. Well, sorry, 3 bids on screen. We're waiting for some sellers to come through. And in a nutshell, what we're trying to achieve with the ZAR X issuer portal is to have an environment where people can see what the company does under the company description. We've asked Frans to, when he's got a bit of bandwidth post-listing, to send us a video of some of his properties. So we would be delighted to put up a video so you can actually see what the properties look like. And then on the left-hand side, you can see here there's a share code, which every listed security in the world has. And at the moment, there are 3 buyers on screen. So in terms of the listing circular, the share has come on at a price of 50 cents. There's a buy at 51, at 50, and at 49 cents for 300, 300, and 200 shares respectively. On the ask side, that's obviously where the sellers can be seen, and all these things happen live in real time. Obviously, Orion has not traded yet, so the market is about to open in about 2 minutes' time. So like all other South African exchanges, we trade from 9 to 5. So the last 10 trades will be seen under the top 10 trade banner. There are a number of other data points here, and as you can see, the appointed advisor, Arbor Capital, and their contact details, along with financial year end, etc. So furthermore, we've got the ZAR X publishing services, as we call it, ZAPs. It's akin to SENS as on the JSE. Once again, we provide this feed free of charge to the markets because investors have a right to know. Furthermore, you can see that if you click on documents, presentations, and the financials tab, the Orion listing circular is there for your perusal. If you continue further down, you can see some historical stats, the PE ratio, the NAV, all those sort of things, the shares in issue, etc., etc. Furthermore, we've got a historical price graph with a number of metrics, and to the extent that there are corporate actions, these would be recorded under corporate actions as and when they come along. The impact this has is that investors are now able to get information about the company that they invested in live in real time. So there's no need to constantly be phoning executives at the issuer on an ongoing basis, trying to get arbitrary information like when is the dividend being paid, that sort of thing. It frees up a significant amount of management time, a very cost-effective solution, and people can see it pretty much anywhere on the go on their smartphones. No need for an app. So in true ZAR X fashion, we do what traditional exchanges do. I'm just going to stop sharing and go back to because I can see there's some chats coming through and questions. But so in true ZAR X fashion, even though we are a fintech, we thought long and hard about what we're going to do when we open the market. And and people said, well, can't you press a button or do something? We felt it's key to be part of the old adage, have something old, something new. And we decided to go with the bell. So without further ado, if you excuse me, I'm going to ring the ZAR X bell. Welcome to Orion. The market's officially open. Looking forward to a very successful. Great. Can we have some clapping of hands on the screen or something? Available. Sorry, we'll have to do it again for the videographer in the office. Welcome to Orion on ZAR X. The listing is now officially open.
Excellent. Well done. Congratulations, France, and thank you to ZAR X. Really well done.
Thank you very much, Michelle, and thank you to the ZAR X guys, and thank you to everyone else, particularly the participants, and because they took the time out to follow this the proceedings here, and it's awesome. But thank you very, very much for that.
There are some questions still to be answered, if that's okay, Franz.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer some questions if we can just go into them.
Can you see them at the bottom of the screen under Q&A? Is a sort of a...
Okay, got them. There's the first question I have there. What is current properties in the portfolio? We have a total of 21 properties in the portfolio, with a total value based on the third-party sworn appraising valuations of 628 million rand. Then there's Sophie. Sophie, thank you very much for the congratulations. Sophie, forgot to mention you by name. He's our audit partner. Thank you very much, Sophie. Long-standing friend of mine, Danny Moss, business associate. Thank you very much, Danny, for the congratulations. And of course, Alistair is our lawyer. Alistair, thank you very much for the congratulations. And I know we're working on some deals right now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to do more deals. I see congratulations from my daughter Nadia. Nadia, thank you very much. And since you're also a shareholder, I'm sure you look after the company. Thank you very much for that. Willie, dankie Willie. Ons loop 'n lang paadjie saam, né? Ons gaan nog 'n ver pad loop. Thanks Willie. And there's Professor Myburg. Professor, baie dankie vir jou geduld, bystand. He's also a long-standing shareholder. Thank you, Prof. Ralph, also family friend, family member. Ralph, thank you very much for participating. Of course, while we're on the line over here, let's do some marketing here, Etienne. I think Ralph has a few pennies to spare. He must buy some Orion shares. Antoinette, baie dankie Antoinette. She's part of the marketing team and also working very hard even during lockdown. I think they work harder during lockdown than otherwise. Long hours and lots of projects they're working on. Thank you, Antoinette. Jaco, of course, our insurance broker. We need the insurance guys, particularly in these days. Jaco, bye-bye, donkey. Thank you very much, guys. Of course, we will scan the policies for the force majeure and business interruption and all those things, see how we can squeeze some money from the guys who've got deep pockets. One of our managers, project manager, Rick Bauer. Thank you, Rick. There's David, also one of our lawyers. David's the man who helps us collecting delinquent tenants. Thank you, David. Keep on chasing the guys who are not paying their rent. We'll get the money coming in. Antoinette, also my wife, Antoinette, bye donkey. Thank you very much. We're a family, we're a team, and I think if I extend the family and the team, that includes, of course, ZAR X and Michelle, all our service providers. It's really a team sport. This is not a one-man show. A lot of people do good things and work very hard, long hours to make it happen. Emil Kaiser, also Emil, can you for buy along? Bye, donkey. Thank you very much, Emil. Also, he's the guy who's got a few pennies to spare. Thank you, Emil. I'm happy to see you buy some more shares in Orion. Sorry. And of course, Linda as well. Thank you very much. There's also one of our other guys, Freddie. Thank you, Freddie. Look after the assets. Kay, thank you very much, Kay. It's awesome. And also you, one of the Michelle's team, also early mornings, late nights, short notice. Kay produces announcements and previously dealing with JC, now you'll deal with ZAR X. Thank you very much, Kay.
Well, incidentally, the Arbor team, this is not their first listing on ZAR X. How many are we on now, Michelle?
2 so far.
Yeah, may there be lots more to come.
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys are great to work with. You're practical, sensible, and although you stick, you've got good standards and you stick to your principles, and that you do make listing a pleasant process, and yeah, and that whole thing that you principles based as opposed to rules based, I think is great. It's it's different things for different times, and the thing about, we live in South Africa and we actually need to make things easy for people, and I think that in terms of corporate governance, you've got to have the standards and that kind of thing, but you can't regulate good behavior. People are either good or they're bad, if you look back at Plato. And the market will punish people who don't do things properly, and it will reward people who do things well, even people that go through difficult times. And I think that your exchange is innovative, it's new, it's in the right place at the right time for these kind of circumstances as well. And congrats on having a virtual listing in lockdown. Really, really well done. And I think if I could just say to France as well, you've been tenacious, and you've tried many things, and you're not the type of person to give up. So yeah, we are very, very pleased to be associated with ZAR X and with Orion, and may you all go from strength to strength.
Michelle, thank you very much. If I may put in a word for Etienne and the team at ZAR X, personally, and I said this right at the first time we met over a year ago, is that ZAR X is actually a perfect platform for REITs. And most people know what a REIT is all about, but just to recap on the REIT, a real estate investment trust has one particular distinction, that it does not pay capital gains tax. And in our business, it's little hidden and tucked away serious contingent liability. And we've spoken earlier about one of the first buildings we purchased via Trevor Osiowski at $5.25 million. It's now worth $9 million. And it's a small property, and really in big scheme of things, it's a small value. But the difference between 5 and 9 is $4 million. That times capital gains tax. That's a huge contingent liability. And if one can get out of that contingent liability by not having to pay capital gains tax legally, I must add, is certainly a serious leg up for property companies like ourselves.
Frans, thank you very much for those kind words. Really appreciate it. Something that struck me about our first meeting was I think in the old days we used to call it, you're a straight shooter, and I've got deep respect for that. I like that. You're a no frills, hands-on kind of guy, and I can. You're the type of guy that you can shake a hand, do a handshake deal with, and I've got deep respect for that. And Michelle called it well. She said, "You guys have tenacity," and thank you for the confidence and that you have shown in the ZAR X team. And we're hoping to be able to once again have a long and successful partnership in this endeavor.
Thank you very much for the kind words, Etienne. I really appreciate it, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Everyone, I'd just like to draw your attention to the fact that the poll is open, and I see a lot of people have already entered their feelings on the poll. And another thing, just to mention that this webinar is an on-demand webinar, so that means if you register even after this webinar is closed, within the next few days, it will be available for people who register to watch on demand on the web. It's also been streamed live to YouTube, and if anybody's interested, I'll be able to send them that link as well.
Jim, can we put the YouTube link on the Orion issuer portal on the ZAR X website so people can get it from there? Is that possible?
We can certainly do that.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, so then everything's in one place. Wonderful.
France, there are 3 more comments. I don't know if you want to have a look at them.
Thank you, Michelle. I've got them in front of me. Thank you very much. From Peterson Company, thank you very much for the congratulations. Really appreciate this. And of course, Johan, he's my right-hand man in property management. He does the day-to-day stuff, dealing with tenants and whatnot. He's a chief operating officer. Thank you very much, Johan. Much appreciated. Andrew van Antwerpen, he's one of our long-standing shareholders. Andrew, thank you very, very much. I know it's been a long road, and I know you've been patient. We'll take this new platform, and we'll take it to the next level. Thank you for that.
Okay, guys, if there are no further questions, I'd like to quickly flip back to see what the market looks like. Get an update. Set refresh here. Oh, it looks like there's another buyer that's joined the bid. So you can see there's a buyer now for 2,000 shares at 50 cents. So some interest coming through already. Looks like the sellers are holding on to the Orion shares. Maybe they perceive there to be some long-term value in these things. So maybe at higher levels, someone would be keen to put on an offer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind attention. I think that concludes our proceedings for today. And if there are any questions, you can contact any one of the panelists via email. And may you stay healthy and stay safe out there.
Thank you very much, panelists. Thank you very much for participants. This is an awesome experience. Thank you. And I know we're still learning technology, and as time goes forward, Etienne, you guys will do more of these virtual things, and the wheels keep turning. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Frans. Thanks, everybody. I'll send out those links, and we'll put them up on the websites. Thanks very much for your attendance today. Thank you very much, Frans. Thanks, Michelle. And thanks to the rest of the panelists.
Thank you, and congratulations, Frans.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Orion and Arbor. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. If I could just say thanks to my team. You know, it's not just me and Kay, there's a whole back office. So just thanks to my team as well. Thanks.